We all have the same 24 hours in a day, and yet it always feels like there's just never enough time for the things that really truly matter. So, how do we fix that? Well, let's dig into this with a really powerful thought experiment called the jar of life. Okay, so imagine you've got this jar and it's filled all the way to the top with golf balls. Now I have a simple question for you. Is this jar full? I mean, it sure looks like it, right? But maybe stick with me here. So, let's pretend for a second that this jar is your life. Simple, right? Everything that you put inside it, well, that's how you're spending your time, your energy, your focus. It's a really simple, but honestly a pretty profound way to think about how we manage our days, our weeks, and even our years. All right, so first we fill the jar with those golf balls. And we ask again, is the jar full now? You'd probably say yes. But then, what if we take some pebbles and pour them in? They just trickle down. They fill in all those little open spaces between the golf balls. So, is it full now? It's gotta be, right? Well, not yet. Because then we can take a container of sand and pour that in. And guess what? The sand fills in all the tiny gaps that are left. What looked completely full at the beginning, well, it clearly had way more room than we thought. And this, right here, is the most crucial part of the whole lesson. If you had started with the sand, if you had filled the jar with sand first, there would have been zero room for the pebbles or the golf balls. And it's exactly the same in life. If you fill up all your time and energy with the small, insignificant stuff, you'll never, ever have room for the things that actually matter. So, let's break this down. What does all this stuff actually represent? Well, the golf balls, those are the huge things in your life. We're talking about your family, your friends, your health, your passions, the really important things. The pebbles are the other things that matter, but they're not quite as fundamental. Think your job, your car, your home. And the sand? Well, the sand is everything else. It's all the small stuff. This really all boils down to one central idea. You have to pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. As the lesson goes, you've got to take care of the golf balls first, because everything else is just sand. So the takeaway here is that you've got to set your priorities. You have to figure out what your golf balls are, those big, important, life-giving things, and make sure you put them in your jar first. All the other stuff, all that sand, it'll just find a way to fill in the gaps around them. But hold on, this story isn't quite over. There's a little twist. So after the professor does this whole demonstration, a student asks a brilliant question. He points out that the professor then poured 2 beers into the jar, and they fit too. So what could the beer possibly represent? And the answer is it's perfect. It adds this wonderful human touch to the whole lesson. It goes to show that no matter how full your life may seem, no matter how packed it is with big, important priorities and responsibilities, there's always room for a couple of beers with a friend. So how do you actually use this? What's the game plan? It's pretty simple, really. First, you've got to identify your golf balls. What is truly critical to your happiness? Second, put those big things into your life first. Make room for them. Third, let all the other stuff, the pebbles and the sand, just fill in the gaps around them. And finally, don't forget the beer. Always, always make time for a friend. And that leaves us with one last really crucial question. This is the one that only you can answer. I want you to take a moment and really think about your own jar of life. What are the golf balls in your jar? What are the things you absolutely need to put in first before it's too late?